Okay, so this is, and I'm actually wearing it. This is an example of how you're going to be able to understand our new unit, our new stories. Some of you might have looked at my shirt and only seen what was in front of you. What's in front of you is a white face and some swirls. That wouldn't be wrong. That is what's on my shirt. However, some of you took what you saw in front of you and added information you had in your head that you got outside of school. I didn't show you the movie Nightmare Before Christmas. That was you. You knew that. You brought information you got outside of school, did a mashup. You heard of mashups before? Usually it's like on Glee or something, but we're going to mash up in language arts. I'm going to give you stories. I'm going to give you notes. I'm going to give you characters' experiences. You will not understand them completely unless you also bring in your outside knowledge. And hopefully, if you guys didn't see Nightmare Before Christmas, if you've never seen that movie, hopefully a classmate will be able to share their knowledge, mash it up for you, and then you understand. Nod your head if you had never heard of the screen painting or of Nightmare Before Christmas. You seen it? If you hadn't seen those things and you didn't have that outside information, luckily a classmate did. They helped you do the mashup. They helped you understand because, yes, this is a mashup of Nightmare Before Christmas and a famous painting called The Scream. They put Scream with Nightmare Before Christmas, made the shirt. Again, if you guys didn't have this outside knowledge to put together with what's in front of you, you might not have totally understood it. Well, that's a good question. That's what makes this painting so famous. Because it's not that detailed. Like, it's not super masterfully detailed. Can you hold on? You have a lot of information, but it's not always appropriate to share it. One of the biggest things that makes this popular is that it isn't really clear. You know, we see a shadowy figure in the background, but is he going to murder this guy? Is that why he's screaming? Or is it just some dude also enjoying a sunset and this guy's saying, oh, it's beautiful. So there's so many ways to interpret this. I mean, okay, is this an evil? Sometimes red makes people feel uncomfortable. Is it evil or is it picturing a red sunset, which some people think is beautiful? Is it? Yes. Is that part of a bloody lake, I guess, if you're Hudson? It's okay. That's the point, though. There's so many ways to interpret it. I think that's what makes it so popular. Because it's popular, people have taken it, mashed it up, and made it into my shirt. They've made it into this.
Why is there
Yeah, that mask is actually called Scream. So it fits, huh?
why is there a Batman? There.
Simpson.
So do you see how they took something they knew, the painting, and mashed it up with something else? Now, if you've never seen Home Alone, you won't get it. If you've never seen The Simpsons and how often he makes that face, you might not get it. But that happens all the time. If you watch Family Guy or Rick and Morty or Community, you're not going to get all the jokes if you don't have the outside knowledge. And it's not always a bad thing. Like, if you watch Family Guy, you might just think Shapoopy's a funny song. But if you watch Family Guy and you also have the outside knowledge of the Music Man musical, you can make that mashup and you get the joke a little deeper. You get it more. If you've never seen Back to the Future or, gosh, any other show ever, you won't understand all the jokes in Rick and Morty. If you've never seen an old documentary about the Civil War, you won't understand why the Pillow Blanket Fort episode of Community is so hilarious. You can still watch those things, but to really, really get it, you need that mashup. Show me on your heads if you're getting the whole outside knowledge, school knowledge, understanding. Okay. Okay. I hope you're telling me the truth. We are going to start a new unit today. I'm super excited. It has a name. Derek. No. He wishes. Our new unit is called Facing Fears. And you already might have some ideas about what that could be talking about, what that could mean, what we might be reading.
Facing fear.
I will tell you from the start that, yes, there is a story about facing more like spooky, Halloween-y fears. But then there's also stories about fears that are not so much like the spider and vampire type, but they're more realistic, more like emotional fears. So we're going to get this whole range. And while we're exploring all of those fears, there's going to be a question you should always be keeping in mind. That's why it's on the board. That's why I'm going to point to it and make you read it 45 times a day. People at home, you can't see my whiteboard here at school, but it is posted on Otis. If it's not, it will be. I apologize. The question is, what can be the result of facing fears? Class, will you please read that question? What can be the result of facing fears? What can happen? I don't want you to tell me. Nope. That is the question we will be asking throughout the unit. And hopefully, while you read, you'll be gathering information and gathering evidence to answer that question. Raise your hand if you actually already have an answer to that question. Like you can answer that question right now. With experience that you've gained from outside school. See what I'm doing here? You're taking your experience from outside school, times you might have experienced a fear or watched somebody else face a fear. Okay, good. You have that outside knowledge. So what do you think I'm going to give you? School knowledge. We're going to do a mashup, and you're going to understand this story. It is all of the skills. This is my part of the mashup. I'm going to give you the story. I'm going to give you the plot, setting, characters, summaries. We'll make predictions and point of view. That's what I'm going to give you to make the mashup. They're on the board. Those are the language artsy things that are necessary. Show me on your fingers. I see 5 things up there. So show me on your fingers how many of those things you've heard of before. People at home, do you have an answer? Okay, good. So these things don't seem totally new to any of you. Okay, that's good. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be totally new. You should have heard of these things before. So that's good. Okay, so let's start answering the question because I feel like y'all really want to talk about it. This is the only time I will allow you to answer the essential question with your own outside experiences. After this, whose fears and experiences are you going to need to be talking about? Broden? No. After today, when you're answering this essential question, what are you going to answer after today? Nope, we're not going to take a poll. Daniel? Maybe you like the story. Yeah, maybe you like the story. We're going to read about characters who face fears. You're going to need to watch what happens to them and gather that evidence to answer the question. Jace, that's not safe. Please don't do that. We're going to read 3 different stories. All 3 stories will have fears in it. The characters either will or will not face them, and you'll have to watch what happens. The last piece of evidence will be you. Today, you will tell me your experience, and you will answer the question for yourself, because remember, what is it? Mashup.
Come on.
So, if you're at home, you can answer these questions on Otis. There's an Otis assessment for these questions. You can leave the Meet tab and go to a different tab, go to Otis, answer these questions in the assessments. People here at school, I want you to answer them in the back of your comp book. Carson, are you going to tell me? Good. What do you want? Oh, okay. Good. Let's discuss the question. So, I broke down the essential question into 3 parts. You're going to need to think of 3 fears first. You can't talk about facing the fears until you know what your fears are. Then part 2, you're going to pick one of those and think, well, would I ever face that fear? Guys, I am not writing these questions to see who is a pansy. That's not my point. But if you're somebody who's sitting there thinking, oh, I don't have any fears, you're wrong. If you have feelings, you have fears. It doesn't have to be heights, spiders, and clowns. It could be losing somebody important to you. It could be a house fire. It could be being out in the deep, deep ocean. Like, think about you and what you actually could be worried about. Then pick one and decide if you would face it. Guys, if you're afraid of being kidnapped in a dark alley, do you think that'd be a fear you would ever face? On purpose? Probably not. Why? Why would that not be such a good idea to face on purpose? You could actually get kidnapped in a dark alley. It is a rational fear. You guys, some fears are there to keep you alive. I'm afraid of trying to swallow an entire taco whole. Good. I should be afraid of that. Why? Because I could choke to death. And then number 3, after you've really pondered that, I want you to think, well, then what could be the result? If you chose to face your fear of heights, maybe you get to ride more roller coasters. If you don't choose to face your fear of heights, will that limit you in any way? Will you miss out on anything in life because you just aren't going to choose to face that fear? What?
Would you face your fear by jumping off a cliff into like a pool of water? Wouldn't that just make you more scared if you're good at
Not if you survive it. Okay, you need to ponder this on your own. People here in class, please write this in the back of your comp book. People on the computers, you can answer these questions in Otis assessments. Ask me questions if you have it. I'm going to pause so that you have time to write. We finish it. The front of your comp book needs to be your table of contents. It should already be there. And so far we have pages what to what? 1, 2, and 3. And page 4. Oof. Page 4 needs to be fiction note. You need to have that written in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you put it in your table of contents, where else should it be? Where? Yeah, on the page. So actually turn to page 4 and give it the title fiction note.